selling high. Riding the wave, I'm here to stay. Living in the digital age. No banks, no fees, just decentralized. It's crypto paradise. Ooh. No banks, no fees.
Alrighty, good morning from Paradise Surfers. Happy Thursday, November 13th. And we have a great show for you guys today. The shutdown is over. Hallelujah. The House, the Senate, Trump all coming together, ending the shutdown. So this surely means we're pumping. Surely Bitcoin's at $125,000, right, guys? Right? Oh, no, never mind. Never mind. More chop, more consolidation. That's okay. Patience. That's how we roll. So we will talk about when we think the pump is going to finally materialize. Should we be getting out of the markets? Is 4-year cycle still a thing? It's all over. Doom and gloom. Sell everything. Get out. Nah, we holding. All right, so we got that story. Pulse chain looks like it's bouncing a little bit after the self-imposed FUD. I guess the self-inflicted wound caused by Richard Hart, maybe designed to shake out the non-believers. So we'll put our tinfoil hats on and talk about some conspiracy theories around all the FUD and Pulse Chain. And what else we got going on today, folks? I don't even know what other stories we got queued up. Probably some good ones, maybe not. I don't know. Happy to be here. Reminder, get engaged. Get active on our X or YouTube, the live streams to get your share of $1,000 every month. All right, guys. So shutdown ends yesterday. I don't know, what was it, 8 o'clock, something like that, my time. I wasn't really expecting much of an immediate pump. I think we maybe got a little bit of a rally for a second, and then it just back down. So that was kind of in the cards, in my view. That was to be expected. So I guess, were you guys surprised? And then where do we go from here?
I think it was no surprise that the government reopened after the Senate got passed through. I think the House was easier to get done. And, of course, Trump was going to sign that once it got passed as well. We also said that this is the first catalyst for the market to turn around, but we didn't expect to see, like, straight-up green candles because of this. Part of it is baked in. Part of people are in denial. We're going to talk about how the fear and greed index is at near all-time lows for the past year or two. Nate has all the data on that. So this is kind of in line. We did an interview with the founder of Frontier Fund yesterday. They were looking for, hey, it opens back up, and maybe we get a relief rally to somewhere around 110,000 over the course of the remainder of the week and this weekend. So we'll see if we even get that. But I think nobody really thinks that this is going to send straight-up green candles. But I do believe that it is the start of a shift in what we're going to see in the markets, and this was needed for Bitcoin, Ethereum continuation, because this was really needed for the next interest rate cut to happen in December, for QT to really end December 1st, like the plan. Because remember, all that backlog of data for the past 40 days or whatever, they're going to be getting that. And Truflation has been keeping up with the data, and they said that inflation has not ran away. It's still around 2.5%. So we'll see how this progresses over the coming days here. We'll see how the market likes it, traditional market leading into the weekend. And then we know lately, crypto and Bitcoin have been liking the weekend sessions without the traditional market. So we'll see if we can get some follow through.
The pageantry continues. A week after elections are done, now we can open the government again. Shocker. It's almost
like we said that was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Pretty
it's almost
obvious.
like it's a giant dog and pony show, and it's all theater for the public to continue on with the bread and games. Yeah. Nothing out of the ordinary here. I wasn't expecting really much of a pump on, based on this alone. It does open the doors now for QT to stop, QE to start, for the crypto bill to get passed. So good, obviously a step in the right direction, but not anything I was expecting to see a big move on the markets off of. But glad we got this out of the way so we can stop hearing about it in the news.
Literally last Thursday's live show, we came on here and gave the theory that all this was a charade because of the Democratic elections going on in New York, Virginia, Attorney General, Minneapolis, and then we said within days it's going to open, but hey, the weekend's coming up. We know the government doesn't work on the weekend, so give it to early next week. And what do you have here? Senate passed it on Sunday, and here we go. By Wednesday, Thursday, we are back reopened. So It's almost too predictable at this point, and if you can't see through that weeds or you're blinded by your praise of the Democratic Party, I just don't understand. But here we go. It's open. Let's see how this data imposes or affects the Fed. Let's see how it affects, like you said, I think the biggest thing that maybe Crypto Armor is going to touch on is now we can get these crypto bills or maybe the Bitcoin strategic reserves and get some more of this crypto regulation out the door that could bring in more capital inflows to these scarce assets.
Yeah, that's the key, right? What are sort of the follow-on effects of the government being open again? That you can envision certainly data coming in to allow the Fed to cut the rates on December 10th. I expect them to do that. It seems like there's more and more Fed governors. You're seeing whispers and rumors that they are all coming around to another cut here, just because the economy is in bad shape. There's been so many job losses in the past few months. So it's going to be nice to see that data come in. And then the biggest thing, the market structure bill. Let's see when they get passed. I mean, Trump is out there saying he wants to get it done by the end of the year. Does that mean that happens for sure by the end of the year? No, it does not, but I think there is a very good chance it does happen. We already heard from Brian Armstrong, founder of Coinbase. This was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, coming out and saying we're 90% of the way there. And then, of course, shutdown, and I'm sure the bills didn't get a lot of attention, but hey, now we can refocus back on that, and then let's see where that story takes us. I think it's an underappreciated catalyst, has not been priced in by my estimation. The interesting thing I'm seeing on X a lot, the charts going around from 2019. Last shutdown, last prolonged shutdown from Trump 1.0 was not as many days, but it was pretty lengthy. Anyway, it ended sometime in, I think it was January 2019, right? Or January 2020 it was, I believe. And, shortly thereafter, the market started to pump. But what I think people are failing to realize is that the catalyst behind the pump was not so much the government opening up again. Although you did start to see the markets creep up a little bit following that, but nothing insane, nothing major. What really started that huge pump and the huge run in 2020 was the start of QE, which happened in March, right? The Fed had to step in and stabilize the market, stabilize the economy after COVID crashed everything. So that's what I'm looking out for. I'm looking out for the end of QT, the market structure bill getting passed, the start of QE here. Those, I think, are the big catalysts. The shutdown ending was not going to, in itself, cause a massive pump. So I feel like that chart going around a little bit disingenuous, maybe a little bit of hopium. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. Nothing wrong with a little hopium. But I just would not expect the opening of the government in and of itself to cause a pump. So I think we're all aligned on that. Let's see how this all plays out. Let's see where the market structure bill shakes out. To me, it's a big thing. It's very, very underappreciated catalyst at this moment in time. But I do think it's going to cause a tremendous amount of capital to be able to flow into crypto when that finally does get passed. So, we're at max fear right now across
almost at max fear.
This is about as max as, yeah, sure.
The lowest we've seen this cycle was back in March, and we got down to 15 and 19. We hit 20 yesterday, so almost as low as you can go this year.
Max fear happens. This thing goes to zero and breaks if Bitcoin and Ethereum indeed do a fifth wave lower and just wick below their previous lows, which would mean that Ethereum would be somewhere between 2,800 to 3,000, and Bitcoin would be somewhere between $95,000 to $99,000. And I think if that happened, this thing literally breaks. I'm not saying that's a guarantee. That's certainly what the charts look like. And now we have the government reopening, and we're not getting any relief to the upside, really. We're just holding levels. So that is a possibility. But like Nate said, this is the lowest we've been in a very long time. So the low could already be in. Those wicklets that we already saw could be the lows. But I think the only way this gets any lower is if we do indeed get those minor new lows or recheck those wicks from about a week ago.
Yeah, what's interesting to me about this fear and greed chart, if you look back and you think back to when it hit that low this year, right, that was around the that was when Trump went out there and did his Rose Garden, like, everyone gets 1,000,000% tariff. Who remembers that, right? And all of the financial markets shit the bed. It was not just crypto. It was everyone was in max pay. What's going to happen? Is the world going to come to an end? This one, why are we in max fear right now? Obviously, price down. That's the biggest reason. I'm starting to wonder if that October 10th mass liquidation event didn't cause something more meaningful in these markets than maybe I initially anticipated. Maybe that broke something a little bit more than we had thought. Because that's the only, outside of that, what has been the reason for the max fear? Okay, price, we get it priced down. But it's not like we had a big tariff thing or some black swan. Maybe that was the black swan that hurt sentiment morale maybe more than I anticipated. What do you think about that theory on October 10th really fucking shit up more than we thought?
I think it is definitely being underaccounted for. Again, it was we look at FTX as like the reckoning in crypto. Like that's the most famous event, like the FTX crash, or maybe even the Terra Luna event. Both happening within the same kind of bear market. This was 20 times larger from a dollar amount perspective. Maybe not as far as definitely not in terms of shaking the bedrock of crypto, because you had, SBF was this Robin Hood-esque, figure. And it had a lot of other deeper implications in terms of just the overall market and, kind of signaled the start of the bear. But I think, when you look at it from a dollar perspective, this was multiple levels of magnitude bigger. And yes, people have been very bearish, but it hasn't gotten the same attention. It hasn't gotten the same recognition of a black swan or of a major catastrophe within our market that it probably should have. So I definitely think that is something that is underestimated. It took, months for the bleed out from the FTX event to finally settle, where we bottomed and we're able to go, sideways and start grinding back up. We're not even a month from the $40 billion liquidation or whatever it was. We're less than 4 weeks since that happened, and people are have forgotten about it completely. So I definitely think it's underaccounted for, that event. The other thing that I think is the issue of why we're at 25 fear right now. It's not just that price is down, it's the price and the time of the cycle. Because this is the time of the cycle where all the predictions, where everybody says Bitcoin should have topped, 4-year cycle should be over. It's whatever number of days, or the magic number of days that the cycle is supposed to end. And that timing element combined with the Bitcoin going down, I think that is what has so many people scared, to where we're seeing 25, and yesterday dipping down to 20 on the fear and greed index. To me, that's the biggest thing. But I still think, yes, our industry is 100% under accounting for how big of an event happened in October. It's only been 3.5 weeks. It's insane to me that people are like, no big deal. Why aren't we pumping right now? Because we just had the largest fucking liquidation event ever in the history of the industry 3.5 weeks ago. Why would you think we're gonna rip out of this? There's been a lot of damage done. A lot of blood in the streets. It takes some time to mop that up and get people back on their bikes.
Oh, you're muted.
Okay, I muted the mic instead of the screen this time. I think for me too, it's the seasonality of it. A lot of remember, we're fighting against early cycle enders who said the top was already in September before Bitcoin made that 126, so they call the top at 124. A month later, we got 126, whatever it was. And then we got the 4-year believers who believe, hey, the top is going to end sometime in this Q4. And now that we've already hit 126 and that was it, now we're had the biggest liquidation event, whatever, they're exiting out. We just saw another Bitcoin whale that had 1.4 billion, and Bitcoin sold a little over half of their position, so 650 million or something like that worth of Bitcoin after slippage and the depreciation in price. So he's kept about half his bag over there. So there's a lot of people who are hedging against, okay, maybe that was the 4-year cycle, maybe it's over, maybe Bitcoin does do another 70-80% drop down, and that's what we're fighting against. And that's a rotation we've been talking about. And until QT ends, QE picks up, stock market continues higher, and until we see some life in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and people start to believe okay, 4-year halving cycle is gone. We are in a 5-year business cycle. I think this is the swimming upstream that we're going to be doing here, and that liquidation crisis just makes it that much harder, like you said, Nate. So I think that's what we're doing. It's the great rotation, but we just had a black swan, which makes it tough. The government was shut down, so there's no data, there's no new regulation, which makes it tough. And even though we do have some minor good news from JP Morgan and stuff, the market is not enthused about it. So let's see what happens. We need to get some price action going and really get all those doubters, the bears, all the 4-year halving cyclists having to reevaluate their positions and trying to maybe FOMO back in with some of that billions in cash they've sold out. Because that's another thing. So we always talk about how these Bitcoin whales sitting on billions, hey, you got to take profits at some point. I would bet that if there's some confirmation that Bitcoin 4-year cycle isn't over, because I think a lot of them are selling because of this. Look at the timing. They're selling during September, October, November, thinking, okay, what if this is the top? I'm going to ride 2 billion back down to 1 billion or whatever. But if we get some follow through and Bitcoin continues to grow and maybe breaks out to a new all-time high, they're humans just like you. They may FOMO in. I'm not going to say they're going to full port billions back into the market, but who's to say they're not going to buy some more Bitcoin, Ethereum, or the new Ethereum or Bitcoin killer in the future?
Yeah, speaking of what you just mentioned there, the numbers coming out now, apparently they're optional. White House coming out today saying we might never release the October jobs and inflation data. So, I mean, why not, right? There's a curveball for everybody.
The first gift there is hilarious, just the North Korea. Kim Jong-un, like, applauding, agrees.
Yeah, a lot of people today kind of like.
I wonder how the October numbers would be affected. Like, maybe they should put more information there. But me thinking from like a mathematical and statistical point of view, would those numbers be an outlier, askew, a wick that shouldn't be counted due to the government shutdown? Like, would all those job numbers be like? What's the lag on that? Would that be in the October report? Like all these things being shut down, no paychecks going out, etc. Like, would that be abysmal, and then the next report, all that will be accounted for, and it's going to look very bloated and very good? Like, I wonder how that works as well, and maybe that goes into the factor of this kind of tweet.
Well, government data is always lagging. They don't get real-time data, unlike Truflation, for example. Unlike the private data from, like, ADP or some of these recruiting firms. It was the recruiting firm that came out with the data that there's been 150,000 layoffs this month. That the government data was never going to capture that because they're always like 2 months behind, 1 or 2 months behind. So, whether we get the data or not, I don't think that really changes the calculus for the Fed. The Fed knows that the direction of the labor market is trending towards further deterioration. That is just a fact. They know that auto loan delinquencies, credit card debt, student loan delinquencies, all these things are at all-time high. This has been we're now at the end of the tightening cycle where you would expect these sort of results. Real Americans impacted by the high rates that we've had over the past 2 years. So the Fed knows this. Whether they get the data or not, I think is somewhat of a red herring. They're going to cut the rates, probably 25 basis point. I don't know if we have any further dissenters. It's going to be interesting to see. We had 2 dissents last time. One, Stephen Mirren, he wanted a 50 basis point cut. I think he's the smart one in the room, the one that's subject to the groupthink and political bias. And then we had some dunce saying, no cut. I think this time we get the 25. I think more consensus around that. We know QT is ending December 1. When does the QE start, right? That's really the big thing. If you're looking at your risk assets, Bitcoin included. I know everyone wants to pretend that it's just like gold, and why isn't it acting like gold? Well, the market doesn't really treat it exactly like gold. Sometimes it's a bit like gold. Sometimes it's like a NASDAQ stock. Sometimes completely uncorrelated, which is one of its, I think value adds. But Bitcoin is going to benefit from the quantitative easing, just like every other risk asset. So for those who have been, fearful, Max Payne, I think there is light at the end of the tunnel here, guys. That's usually how it works.
I don't necessarily hate that.
Darkest before the dawn. So just keep hanging on, folks. It's all going to be fine.
I don't necessarily hate the new idea of just, no, we're not going to release numbers this month versus their normal. We're going to make some bullshit numbers up and then revise them to 0 6 to 9 months later. So, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a fresh approach.
It's also easy anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Talking about numbers here, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon once said in 10 years, Bitcoin will be closed down, called it rat poison, hated it, all that other stuff. And today it's worth more than his entire bank. And also remember that JP Dimon now is investing in Bitcoin, supporting Bitcoin, looking to do stable coins. The list goes on and on. These guys always make a mockery of themselves, but then we ingratiate and welcome them with open arms years and decades later. So, I guess my point of view is, okay, it's great they're involved. It brings more money to the ecosystem, but never forget what they used to say to you, what they used to lie to you, how much wealth they took from you by telling you not to be buying Bitcoin, not to be getting involved with blockchain or Ethereum. I think that's the biggest takeaway, and that's the only approach. I just hate the one thing I hate about Bitcoin and crypto and being early on investment classes is like people like ourselves have been around preaching this for a very long time. There's other in the space that have been preaching it for a very long time, but it never fails that CNBC, government officials, all these events, all these conferences welcome these guys. Like Jamie Dimon's going to be on stage talking about blockchain technology and stablecoins, yet he was the one who was saying it was going to go to zero, has no value, has no utility, is rat poison. And I just don't like that our industry does that. Embrace them as far as like, okay, cool, their clients can now use it. We can make, they can make money. We can pump price, whatever. But I don't think they should be ingratiated into like the Hall of Fame, get on the stage of the conference and preach and evangelize Bitcoin when you hated it so much for so very long.
This industry has a notoriously short memory. A very, very short memory. I mean, we've already started to see speculation about SBF getting pardoned and which major VC is going to back him for his next project. So I would not be surprised, unfortunately, if Jamie Dimon is speaking at Token 2049 next year or something silly like that. But I 100% agree. These people what's the meme? Boo that man!
Yeah.
If he's at Token next year, I'll buy a ticket just to go and boo him. I'm with you, 100% Hitman.
Yeah, I just sort of shrug my shoulders. Look, if you're Jamie Dimon and other Wall Street bigwigs, you're going to now cause an avalanche of money to flow into this industry. Well, I forgive you for being an asshole 10 years ago. Make me rich now, and I'll forgive you.
It was more like 6 months ago for Jamie Dimon.
Well, sure, but whatever. I mean, they can make money on it now, and so they love it now. That's it. It's really not even that complicated. Who else is making money in these markets? Let's give a shout out to all our loyal listeners. Me, Chapo, good morning. Jay, good morning. Todd, like this, smash the like, share, subscribe. Absolutely, guys. We need your support. We need your engagement. That helps the algorithm. So if you haven't liked, shared, or commented on any of our recent content, please do so. Let's get to winning. We're winning every day here at Crypto Paradise. Price up, down, sentiment up, down. We're still winning because winning is a mindset. It's an absolute mindset, guys. So just stay locked in, stay committed. You'll eventually make it when these markets recover. Good morning to Moonma. There's a great question from Bagito. Yeah, I was thinking 150K by the end of the year. It felt like kind of almost conservative. It felt like, well, if things play out like last cycle, and even last year, November always is great, December's great. Well, then surely we would, be at 150,000. That's 50% from here. So kind of starting to feel like, no, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Maybe we get back to around the 126,000, all-time high. I just don't see us getting 50% returns from where we're at right now. I just don't. The catalyst, we got the market structure bill, Clarity Act, whatever that's called. QT's ending, Fed rate cut. The QE is not starting. I just don't see what is going to cause just a flip from this sort of bearishness to bullishness and cause 50% gain in 6 weeks' time? I don't know. Now, do I believe Bitcoin is going to never reach? No, of course not. It's going to reach 150,000 and well beyond, but it may take longer than 6 weeks, folks.
Yeah, the reason that price is here is, like you said, the seasonality and the, I guess because you're not on a 4-year halving cycle anymore, on a 5, hasn't played out. October down 3.69%. November still down 6.57%. So could this flip green and then you have a big December? You could. I mean, we've seen it happen in the past. You've seen big months in the past. You've seen big months even last cycle, a 42% month, a 46% month, a 27% month. You even saw in 2023, 28, 8, 12. So it is very possible. 2024, 37% in a month during a bear market. So, is it possible? True. Does it look like it's going to happen? It'll be tough because, like we've been talking about, QT doesn't end until December 1st. More rate cuts don't happen until middle of December. So to have a run-up, you're going to need a lot of speculating, a big reversal in the fear and greed index, and some very much forward thinking coming out of the U.S. government or other government agencies across the world. It is weird to always talk about governments and QT and QE when it comes to Bitcoin because that really wasn't the topic in the past, besides when China was wanting to ban Bitcoin. But that is the nature of the beast now when you have institutional players government entities, nation states that are really the biggest buyers and holders of Bitcoin. And really, we're talking about that because we know we need that trickle-down effect into ETH, and then that trickle-down from ETH into alts.
Yeah, we're all on record being much more bullish and having much higher predictions for where this year ends. And this is one of those situations where I think I'm happy to be wrong here, because the other thing that we've talked about since January of last year, or probably actually I think it was kind of when we were recovering out of this, whenever it was, early on, maybe Q1, Q2, we talked about the longer we go sideways, the longer this range that we've been in for what feels like forever now, the longer we stay in this range, the more explosive the upside's going to be. The longer the extension of the bull run's going to be, going into this 5-year market cycle scenario, or longer, going into this explosive 2-3 100K or more kind of potential upside. And that's exactly kind of Crypto Burb, a good friend of the show, good friend of Crypto Paradise, and their crew over there. We've known those guys for a long time. But I think his third sentence there is really kind of drives that point home. The longer we continue to stay in this now 10-month range, as much as we hate to say it, the more explosive the breakout is going to be. So as much as we hate to be wrong on our calls for the end of the year, I think it does turn out for the better in the long run for everybody to have an extended cycle and to have a much more explosive breakout whenever we do get out of this range that we're stuck in.
So we're pre-rich for a little bit longer, guys. Just pre-rich. Got to enjoy being pre-rich, because more money, more problems. Remember that. Be careful what you wish for here. Pre-rich might be better than being rich. So we'll have to see. We'll report back to you on that by mid-next year, whether being rich is better than pre-rich. But who's not rich anymore?
Yeah, he's given up on being pre-rich.
Yeah, Michael Burry's not rich anymore. Maybe he was after the financial crisis of 2008, and then being a bear and shorting the market, it works like 1 out of 10 times. It doesn't really work as a long-term strategy, because look at the markets as over a 10-year time frame. It's up. Yeah, with some correction along the way, sure, but it's mostly just up and to the right. So I'm not surprised that Michael Burry's calling it quits. Good for you. You got a movie out of it. Christian Bale played you. Amazing actor, amazing role there. But it doesn't pay to be a bear over the long term. What's your guys' take on Michael Burry's retirement?
Yeah, it's more than just his retirement. So he actually had an investment fund that is now closing. Got liquidated on the way up here across investments of trying to short stocks, trying to short Bitcoin, trying to short everything except gold, well, he blew it up. He said they're going to be closing it out, paying out what's available, keeping some money for audits and taxes, and then gave a shill to one of the other people that was also working the fund, saying he's the best and the brightest. You should get invested with him. Maybe that guy within his firm or those working with him was in his ear saying, I don't know if you're right here. I think we shouldn't do this. I think we shouldn't do this. And he feels bad that guy is going to be out of a job as well, even though he was right all along. So pretty wild to see this. Michael is also one of the people who was calling the top and saying to short Bitcoin. So I'm not going to say I'm happy that he's out of the game, because there's a lot of investors that lost money. But it's nice to see that another Bitcoin bear, stock market bear, somebody rooting against the markets and the USA success is liquidated.
Yeah, I mean, look at some of his bets, right? So Tesla, short Tesla, got wrecked. Shorted Michael Saylor, got wrecked. He shorted all these popular momentum trades that retail loves, and he got wrecked. I think that was his problem. It's this. I've seen this time and again with very, very smart people, because no doubt Michael Burry is smarter than 99% of people out there when it comes to finance, right? I'm not going to sit here and dispute that. The problem with ultra smart people is they don't ever truly understand the crowd. They don't understand, they can't put themselves in the shoes of the little guy who's just like, I like Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk is smart. I think, robotics and self-driving cars are the future. And I'm not going to look at the earnings, and I'm not going to look at, how much they made this quarter versus how much they've spent. I just think Elon Musk is cool, and so I'm investing. That's a lot of what this market has become. It's dominated by retail. And retail's, investing on emotions. So the really smart guys, they tend to miss that. They overanalyze, and then they get wrecked. I've seen this time and again. Alas, a lot of my smart friends, they didn't invest in Bitcoin because they had every reason under the sun why it wasn't good. Meanwhile, the crowd likes it, bro. Like, I'm sorry. Sometimes you have to just dumb yourself down a little bit, put yourself in the shoes of the little guy, and then things start to make sense. So, Michael Burry got wrecked on some trades. He doesn't understand retail, doesn't understand this market. The good news for you guys following the show is you don't have to be as smart as Michael Burry to make money in these markets. Just invest in what you believe in, invest over the long haul, stay invested in the markets, and over a long period of time, you guys will make money. Simple.
The saying always is the market can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. And for Michael here, that actually became a reality. Shorting is a dangerous game. The funds that are long have periods of drawdowns, but they rarely go insolvent, and that's because over time, things that are pegged to the dollar continue to go up and to the right if they have any kind of utility or any kind of fundamentals behind it, because the dollar spending power continues to go down and to the right. So, you can have some wins here and there when you short the exact top, but if you're wrong, you're going to find yourself in a dangerous place.
Something tells me he's going to pull Michael Jordan. He'll be out of retirement before too long. Guys with egos this big usually aren't content disappearing from the limelight completely for too long. So I'd imagine at some point.
At the end of next year when the market's dump, he'll be like, "See, I was right. Hire me back. We'll open another fund." That's what.
True. Yeah, no, Bears get it right once, one out of every 10 times, because there's always corrections, always crashes. But for the most part, they don't get it right. And Nick, I think hit the nail on the head. It's the dollar debasement. It's the debasement of the dollar that's causing assets to go up over time. So we don't need to overthink it. It's also, look, 401k investors, insurance companies, pension funds, they have to invest. They have to continue to invest. 401k investors every 2 weeks are essentially forced, or they opt into it, but it's for their own good. They're forced to invest in the market every 2 weeks. A little bit comes out of their paycheck, automatically goes in the market. Why would over time the market go down? Why would the only time I think you see a bit, a crash is when after you have a big melt up, inflation hits, Fed pulls the rug, starts raising rates, then you have a crash, year-long crash, whatever, and then reverses from there. So, these bears, man, I'll never understand them. Thank God I'm not bearish. If I was bearish, I'd be broke right now, I'll tell you that much, because I never would have invested in Bitcoin to begin with.
And talking about the auto investment real quick before, Nate, you go to this next news article here. I don't know if you guys saw it, but the auto investment in the stock market, now the government is hinting at potentially for the next 3 years, any child that is born, instead of more government subsidies and all that other nonsense where the parents can spend it on whatever they want, they're actually going to use government funds to market buy $1,000 worth of stocks. I don't know if it's going to be S&P or what the index will be, and then that account will be opened in the name of that child, so that child does have a $1,000 investment account that is created upon birth that is only accessible to them at the age of 18 years or older. So that's an interesting thing, and kind of goes with your remark of people auto investing every 2 weeks, and now potentially the government might cut some subsidies that the parents can use as they want and open up a $1,000 account in the name of that child that they can't even access for 18 years. So that was in passing. I forget the little blurb that I saw, the little video, but we'll see how that progresses, because that's another interesting auto investment. And I think that's on the right path of, instead of the government just handing these parents money for having kids, here's a little something, we're putting 1,000 into the U.S. markets, and then these kids are forced to be long-term investors, and sets up the future generation in a much better light. Because imagine 18 years of compounding without even knowing a $1,000 investment, what that can turn into, and what that can do for the education cycle of financial freedom for the next generation as well.
Yeah, man, much better than giving out these food stamps for parents to spend at Walmart on chips and soda. That's what's happening with EBT money. Saw a fascinating a video from a delivery guy, and he was like, when the EBT money dried up, I was delivering like groceries, like more healthy foods, like proper foods. People were paying cash. Turns out these people do have money. They didn't starve. They had money, and they were buying proper foods. EBT money hits, and all of a sudden it's junk food, just chips and soda. So much rather have our tax dollars, because this is our tax dollars, guys. Don't forget it for a second. This is our tax dollars, or money they're going to print out of thin air, cause inflation, hurt our kids down the line. Anyway, it's money that's going from you to these people. I'd much rather have that go to the financial markets, to a child, 1 year old, compounding over 18, and hopefully they just keep it in the markets, 18, 20, 30, 50 years. Imagine, man, like imagine my parents, imagine they did this for me when I was a kid. I'd be sitting on millions. I'd have millions in like Apple stock and all this stuff because I was born around that time. It'd be incredible. So this is a wonderful policy, along with the $2,000 stimulus check, that apparently is happening, guys. It's being reported across media. I don't know how you're bearish. And if you are, you get wrecked like Michael Burry did.
After this live show, I'm actually going to be doing the vending machine route that I own today. And last week when I did it, there was no lines in Walmart for the first time. I've owned the vending machine company for 3 years. And there was always massive lines at Walmart, Sam's. Sam's at least I can do the scan and go and leave it. Walmart, always massive lines. I got to wait in line for like fucking $50 worth of soda or whatever. Last week, 0 lines. I literally walked up. I was next in line before I could get the soda on the thing. I was already getting scanned. And this week will be interesting to see if the lines are back now that SNAP and EBT is on. And I'm not saying this to say that that's the case, but this is just real life exploration, looking around. 3 years of lines, no lines the 1 week, there's no EBT. Let's see if the lines are back this week, and then you can make your own decisions on who's actually shopping in the stores and what percentage of people are actually getting this government assistance that they're just spending willy-nilly on junk food and whatever else.
And do me a favor while you're there. Let us know what kind of stuff is in the carts. Because here's the problem, guys. It's not just your tax dollars going towards their junk food. But what happens to a person after they eat a lifetime of junk food and soda? They become obese, they have heart problems, and then they have to go to the hospital to get, whatever problems they have fixed by a doctor. You know who's paying for their medical bills? We're all paying for their medical bills too through Medicaid, Medicare, whatever which one it is.
Health insurance
is ridiculous. It's just, it should infuriate everybody.
Yeah, health insurance is an open season.
You'll be pissed that this is happening. I like to think of myself as a nice guy, compassionate, at least towards people who deserve it. This is a massive problem. So report back what kind of junk is in their carts today, Nick.
Yeah, and that's the domino effect that people don't talk about, because right now health insurance is open season. So self-employed, so we got to get it at the market, right? We do Crypto Paradise, whatever. And the cost per month is astronomical, to the point where it's like, I don't take medication, I don't go to the doctor. I've gone 1.5 years without even paying for health insurance. Fuck it. But now I'm like, okay, we're maybe going to have another kid. Maybe I should get health insurance, stop rolling the dice, getting a little older. And the numbers are crazy. But then if you're someone who makes $50,000 or less or $60,000 or less as a household, you get medical insurance for $0 to $50 per month. But those same very people are normally the people that are on EBT and SNAP, that are eating junk food, that are obese, and actually have issues, diabetes, medical situations, taking antidepressant medication, whatever it is. And then those are the people who put a burden on the health system. So that's why your health insurance is so much. That's why your medical bills are so much. It's the domino effect that people don't talk about, and it's the negativity of the welfare state and the nanny state. So we're going a little off track, but it's good that you're putting the dots together. And that is what is happening, and I'm living it as I'm looking at, cost per month. I've called a couple people who specialize in self-employment for health insurance people, and they've been able to save me a couple $100 here and there per month. But it's still astronomical. If you make it in this country, everything is against you as far as costs for health insurance, taxes, everything. But if you just don't make it, or you make it just enough, $60,000 or less, $0 health insurance, here's some SNAP benefits, Section C, and the list goes on and on. We're getting in this cycle of where you're not incentivized to really be great unless you're at the top of the echelon. If you're good and you're making 6 figures or whatever, by the time it's all said and done, the person making $60K that's getting the free benefits, the SNAP, the Section C, is making more money than you at the end of the day with their government subsidies. So it's pretty crazy backwards world we live in right now.
Bunch of losers. That's the thing. Like, even if that's all the case, I can't imagine sitting around doing nothing and just collecting government money. What message does that send to the kids, to your kids? I think it's important to work and try, even if you're not going to make a lot or whatever, and even if there's some bums who are getting free money, you can't just do nothing. So anyway, I know we're getting off topic here. You know who didn't do nothing? You know who made a lot of money? The Winklevoss twins. Good job. Came up with Facebook.
Go ahead, Nate. Nate's over there. Nate's over there, bored out of his mind. He's like, I don't even live in the United States. I live in Venezuela. I'm rolling in dough. I want to talk about Winklevoss and this privacy currency because I need to, extract all this with paying 0 taxes to the U.S. government and buying myself some Vietnam suits.
Has to pay taxes. Nate, correct me if
I'm American, man. There's no escaping the long arm of Uncle Sam. No matter where I'm almost to as far away as you can get, and it don't matter.
You're literally like the opposite end of the world from New York.
Yeah, I mean, it's what it is, folks. The privilege of being an American and funding all those overseas wars and all the poor people. Wow, what a wonderful thing.
Yeah, the privilege of not having lived in the country for over a decade and still paying taxes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your contribution. All right, so what do we got here? Are these the guys who orchestrated the Zcash run up? Is that what happened here? Is they orchestrate this thing and then they announce this fund?
I mean, it very well could be. I pulled this story up for a couple of reasons. One, to kind of talk about I've been seeing more and more stories about the importance of the privacy industry, and it was a big one last cycle. It's privacy is an important sector for us. I don't think it's gotten the credit that it deserves, both from a technological perspective, which we've covered before, where we've talked about the need for the inherent privacy in terms of the coding for scalability and while still maintaining security. And that's something Vitalik has released some, very heavy white paper type stuff on in the past few weeks here. But I think more so now, why it's catching a bid, why it's gaining momentum and building a narrative again, is around the personal privacy aspect of it. I've seen lots of posts and people writing about how most of our fundamental human rights and freedoms have an aspect of privacy baked into them, and the more and more that we see these type of laws and governments, these globalist type governments, moving towards the absolute abolition of any sort of privacy, whether it's financially, your data, what you put, social media, listening to your phone conversations, looking at your bill, everything, privacy in general is under assault. I think that personal privacy aspect of it is much more excitable, a much better narrative than the technological side of it. And so while I'm not a huge Zcash fan, while I think there are better privacy coins out there, I think this kind of goes to show, and if you kind of take a span of what's going on CT, it is not a trend that's going away anytime soon. Will Zcash continue to be the leader there? Possibly. Possibly not, but there's a lot of other great projects out there working in this space, and I think it is a laudable space to promote. So Winklevoss twins, they've been through a lot. Obviously, they came from money, but they've gotten kicked in the teeth a few times. They should have been, part of should have gotten a lot more money from Facebook than they did. You can all go watch that movie and make your own judgments on that. But again, didn't give up. Yes, they started with money, and they started with a bit of a silver spoon, but they didn't take it for granted. They've worked very hard. They built a lot of companies and products. They were early investors in Bitcoin, big evangelists for this industry. They built Gemini. They've done a lot of different things. So they're not dumb guys. Whether or not they were behind the pump or whatever's going on, there was a bit of a cabal action going there, I'm not sure, but they are now, we're working on a treasury accumulation strategy for 5% of the Zcash supply. They're not the only ones. My other job, I work in secondaries, OTC, M&A. There are a lot of people looking to get themselves a bag of Zcash right now on the secondaries markets. So they are not the only ones focused on this trend.
Yeah, and what's interesting, I'll talk about Zcash in a second, but talking about privacy, I just went to reply on Twitter to a message, and now they are wanting you to put a passcode, a 4-digit PIN on your public messages, and now there's optionality of encrypted messages on Twitter as well. So maybe you guys haven't seen that, or maybe need to update the app, but it looks like Elon Musk is also focusing on privacy for both public and encrypted messages within the X application. So that's pretty interesting. Just happened live on air when I went to reply to somebody. And then talking about Zcash, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Is Zcash the next DAT cycle that's going to spur the next momentum? And as far as the Winklevoss twins, they were very early to Bitcoin, and they were kind of the cypherpunks of Bitcoin and believing in decentralization and pseudo-anonymity and everything else. So for them to get on board with Zcash, I think that shows that they have done due diligence. They do believe in the privacy features, and they do believe that Zcash isn't maybe the next Bitcoin, but it's kind of the truer vision of what Bitcoin was. Remember, Zcash has a lot of the same parameters of Bitcoin. Same total supply, same 4-year halving cycle, proof of work, etc., and that's why they're leaning into this as the next narrative, the next big play for them and their companies.
At the same time, I won't rule out Amaro's theory that they already have a huge bag and they posted
That
the
is very
story to
true.
pump their bag and then liquidate, and they never have any actual intention of doing a fund. That's the kind of games the people at this level play. So that's definitely not to be ruled out.
That is true. You
I
let
think
other
they've
investors
been
buy
doing
5% of the supply when you already own 5% in your personal wallets.
Yeah, I don't think they're not going to do the fund. I just think they already bought in to Zcash and helped orchestrate the fund pump, and then you announce this, and it becomes a lot easier to raise money to invest in a thing that's pumping and doing great versus a thing that's been on like a 4-year downtrend, which is what Zcash has been going through, I'm sure, prior to this run. So yeah, great work. I think highlighting the importance of privacy for this industry and as societies and as individuals. I'm still not convinced it's a sustainable sort of investment class. I've never really seen, I mean, God, I've been in crypto for ages. Outside of, I think Monero had a moment in the sun in like 2017 and Dash 2, probably Zcash, but that was the last time I saw anyone caring about privacy. So I'm just not convinced that DJs truly care about privacy. They care about price go up. All right, investors care about price go up. I'm not sure they care as much about privacy as people are letting on. But let's see. I'm happy to be to be more positive too. I much prefer the privacy narrative to say just like memes and pump on and just degen shit in the trenches. That was terrible. So at least now we're starting to something greater. This does have real tech behind it. There is a true use case behind it. Is it a momentum trade? Probably, but it's still better than memes. So let's leave it at that. I'm still positive overall. What else do we got? Oh, we got some backstage stories, and I did want to.
Let's check out.
Yeah,
our
I just wanted to. I was gonna say, speaking of actual utility and something that you can get behind a good narrative, backstage project that we have been directly involved with. Shout out to the Surf DAO who's got involved with these guys. Talking about actually making a dent, having a real business, real utility, more than just hype and narrative. Look no further. These guys are out there. This is a project that before they ever launched did $1 million in revenue before they ever even launched their token. Not too many projects out there that can say that even have any revenue, let alone do $1 million before they launch their token. And these guys are continuing to build, continuing to go out there and grind it out, put together new opportunities for the business, new opportunities for the token holders, expand their ecosystem. They're in a massive industry. They're in the like $2 trillion entertainment industry. There's a lot of the IRL, part of the kind of RWA trend, and these guys are square in the middle of both IRL and RWA. As AI, as all these things, technology keeps growing, like these in real life experiences are gonna just continue to. This is something that's, I don't want to say recession proof, but it's like it's not going away. This is an industry that AI will not ever disrupt. Going to concerts, going to these in real life personal experiences that you cannot get online. This isn't going away anytime soon. This is an industry that's very long tail. And talk about an underpriced gym. What other companies out there do you know that are their TTM, their trailing 12-month revenue is over $1 million, and their current market cap's under 200K? That's pretty wild.
Yeah, and yesterday we talked about them saying, hey guys, we just talked, we did a meeting with them. We think they're going to do some things through the end of this week and really start ramping things up. And it did rally quite a bit yesterday after the live show. We were up like 100 and something percent on our investment. Currently, it has come back down, but we're still up about 15 to 20% on our investment, and the week is still young. So we'll see how things progress here. But again, if you look at the distribution of the tokens as well, there's no new tokens coming into circulation for the next 1.5 months. So we're continuing to hold, we're continuing to believe, and we'll go based off the meeting we had with them. They got first IRL event that will be going towards buybacks of the BKS token coming up within that time period. So we'll see how this progresses, and this is a new higher lows here. If they can hold these levels, we're up 20% on the investment. And again, we showed yesterday, it doesn't take much money for this thing to really rip and roar, as about $100,000 or $200,000 in volume came in yesterday, and the thing did a 2x. And in the face of these kind of shitty Ethereum and Bitcoin markets, it's still holding 20% profits over our investment level.
Well, the strategy with these guys has always been, where are we going to be in 6 to 8 months? Where are we going to be in, into Q1, beginning of Q2, mid Q2, when everybody else is now getting excited on pre-sales, and we've been bullish since October of the prior year. And now with Backstage, we're fully unlocked or near fully unlocked. We won't be fully unlocked in, but we'll have a good token of our chunk of our tokens liquid, and the market's pumped. And we're not late. We're not just getting into the trend. This is one of those moonshots. And if that's what you believed when you invested, obviously the launch didn't go as we were hoping. Not necessarily their fault. Like, the markets were. What can you do when the markets are? When Bitcoin's dumping day after day after day and everything is bleeding, not a lot you can do there. But the overall, long tail theory with these guys and the long tail goal with these guys, very much still in play. So if you think the market's going to be back, if you think that we haven't topped and we're not in a bear market, then our investment theory for these guys is still fully in play.
Will Backstage continue to buck the trend of these markets? And let's see if Frank's right here. First of all, welcome to the show. I think we've seen you around. Glad to have you in here. Yeah, the market's going to tank until we see rates 2%. No new liquidity coming until then. Liquidity is drying up. More pain awaits. Well, thank you. Look, it's good to have a resident bear here amongst us. And actually, the fact of the matter is, I think we're largely saying the same thing.
I don't disagree with Frank.
our message has been, it's all about liquidity. It's all about QE. It's all about Fed policy. And right now, we're at the end of the tightening cycle. And so you'd expect max pain and max fear and money to be drying up. I don't know, though, if we're going to tank until 2% interest rates. First of all, I don't know if the Fed is going to drop them by that much. That would be a 1.25 point drop from here. They may eventually get there by mid next year, but it may not get that low. But the point is this: the markets are forward looking, and if the markets decide that, the Fed is serious about cutting rates, they're serious about saving the job market, they're not as worried about inflation anymore, because inflation was just a big red herring, fugazi, political, I hate Donald Trump, so therefore, tariffs bad and cause inflation, blah, blah, blah. Once people in the market sort of wrap their head around that the Fed is completely pivoted away from caring about inflation, now they finally care about the job market. Once that happens, I think we do start to see an uptrend. Because we don't have to get to 2% for the market to foresee that we are getting to 2% and get risk on again, right? Market's normally forward looking by 6 months. So yeah, I think that's what I'm looking at. Powell's getting replaced in May of 26. Do we see Trump appoint someone or announce his new appointment before that? Perhaps before the end of the year, if he appoints someone dovish, that's going to also cause markets to look ahead to QE coming and lower rates. So the market's forward looking. I don't think we need to get to 2%, but I think we need confirmation that the Fed finally does care more about job market than they do about phantom inflation.
Yeah, I was going to say, we do agree, no new liquidity is coming to the market. We've been talking about that for a very long time. No retail. The liquidity is coming from institutions, and then the big whales are the ones selling out. They're essentially washing each other, and that's why we're consolidating. But I don't think that we tank until we see the rates at 2, for the same reason Crypto Amaru said. And the fact that means that you would say, hey, we're going to literally tank for the next 6 to 8 months, and then we're not going to see a bull market start until like Q3 or Q4 of next year. Now, although I do think there is an outside chance that the 5-year business cycle leads us to topping in crypto in Q3 or Q4, very outside chance with the launch of GTA 6, that's a little tongue-in-cheek, I don't see how we literally dump continuously until 2% rates, because like Crypto Armor said, that is quite a ways away. We don't even know if they're going to get the 2%. I've been saying maybe like 2.5%, but still, that's probably not until the end of Q2 or Q3 of next year, which is quite a ways away for these markets to continue lower after we've already been in that 8 to 10 month consolidation that Nate hit on earlier today as well.
I can't accept it. I can't wrap my head around another like 6 months of downtrend. I won't accept it. My mind won't allow that to happen. Look, could we be wrong? Sure, but I just don't see it playing out exactly that way. We're due for a bounce here, guys. We're due for a bounce at some point. We need a catalyst or two. We need Binance or Wintermute to stop just selling. We need the markets to realize that QE here is coming. Just to cut any one of those things, and we start to run again. And I don't think it's going to take another 6 months before any of those things materialize.
We need $2.4 trillion to flow into the crypto market cap in 7 hours is what we need right now. Obviously, the Coin Bureau intern was high on their own supply today, posting this tweet. This is wildly inaccurate, but it was fun to see anyways. We can all imagine what this would look like if the market went up by 60% total market cap in 7 hours. That'd be pretty wild.
Yeah, I was like, that math just ain't quite math. And
I assume that's gold, right? Is that the gold chart or what? What is that?
It says crypto's market jumped 2.4 trillion. I don't.
No, that's obviously not correct, but I mean.
Yeah, Coin Bureau intern was drunk today when they posted this, but can you imagine?
Well, look, I mean, this reminds me of the tongue-in-cheek tweet from CZ, right? Like the year is 2035. Bitcoin's at $1 million. It crashes to 900K, and everyone's panicking and pissed off. You know what I mean? Like, we've been hearing this marks since 2016, 2017. It was a dream. It was like considered not even possible, frankly, for Bitcoin to hit 100,000. You'd kill your firstborn for the possibility of $100,000 Bitcoin if you had that, if the devil gave you that bargain. And here we are at 100,000. People are complaining this on 125. This is just how it goes. So I do think there will be a time when Bitcoin's market cap is, I mean, we can have a market cap of $20 trillion Bitcoin and it swings $2 trillion in a day, right? Why not? If that can happen to gold now, why not in 15, 20 years happen to Bitcoin? So I know it's crazy. This intern obviously is drunk or high or on his own supply, whatever. But, we can envision a future. $1 million Bitcoin dumps to 900K. Everyone's pissed off. And then we pump up again to $1.4 million Bitcoin. Everyone's happy again. Could absolutely happen, guys.
If you want to scroll up to Martin's comment, he said, what's going on with RH tablets? Do we expect further shipments? And, of course, we'll touch base on Pulse Chain. Yesterday was the waterfall, and we said, hey, guys, this might be the final capitulation, or we're wrong, and we are going to zero. We have seen a bounce on RH tickers, 5%, 7%, 3%, and 6%, so that's good to see. Obviously, price still feels miserable, but with ETH and Bitcoin down, a bounce is still a good sign. And about those tablets, there are still an estimated 500 to 700,000 tablets that need to be shipped just in the United States alone. So that IRL marketing is not over. I think about 400,000 have been shipped out so far. I don't know if they're all fully delivered. But that's the update that I know, or the last I've heard. So we'll see how that continues to go. And, Richard Hart, Fudge Storm. We already talked about it yesterday, so I'm not going to talk about it again. But remember, he did say maybe a recorded video or a live show in 1, 2, or 3 days. We are now on day 2. Do you think that Richard Hart produces a live show with his face or a recorded video with his face by the end of this weekend? Yay or nay, Nate and Crypto Amaru? Or do you think he is delayed once again?
I don't know if he live streams by the end of the week or whenever. I hope he does soon. I mean, how are you going to tease it and then just not follow through on that? But and then against Richard Hart, and he just seems to just do wild, crazy things that I can't wrap my head around half the time. So the theory, the conspiracy theory that I think is circling the interwebs now is this was an orchestrated sort of, get the Jeets out, get the non-believers out here before, he pumps or announces something bullish. And maybe, I mean, he's basically been on record saying that that's how he likes to operate. He said that time and again. So is that completely out of the realm of possibility? Absolutely not. That could be what's happening here. Or it could just be a bad decision that's causing people to lose faith and people are selling out because it was a bad decision. Like that, it could be a simple explanation. But either way, I'm continuing to hold my PLS, my SURF, and my PLSX, which are my only Pulse Chain assets. I'm just going to hold because, anyway, it was a small percent of my portfolio. I can take a little bit of risk on this. Hopefully Richard Hart, in his own crazy, convoluted way, ends up pumping us to Valhalla. But, it's been a hell of a roller coaster. Thank you, Nick, for getting us into Pulse Chain.
Hey, Surf is still up big. PTGC is still up big. Those are the ones that we've been preaching.
I'm still loving the roller coaster. It gives you a little excitement in the day.
Nate, recorded video or live show by the end of the weekend? Yes or no? I keep saying recorded video because a lot of people just assumed he's talking about a live show, and I think that it would be more likely that it would be a recorded video, but it would be nice to just see his face, hear his words, and have him do his comments. But again, he said 1, 2, or 3 days. We're on day 2 here, and there's still no update on that. Recorded video, live show. I'm even giving him an extra time, saying by the end of the weekend. That would be like 5 days.
He actually said days. He actually said within a certain time frame.
In that tweet, yep.
Wow. Okay. So all right.
I have not followed the saga as closely, but I'm gonna say no.
Be late
but
on it.
again, I'm also not giving up on the pulse chain stuff. I got a big bag of PLS that I haven't touched. I've got a lot of the alts that we're friendly with. I've got Alien still. I've got Rhino. I'm still farming Emit. I've got some Vox. I've got a lot of the people that we've talked about quite a bit on the show. Teams that we like, teams that we believe in. Just because the overall market's down and PLS has had some shakeups, Pulse Chain, I still believe in these projects. I still believe in these founders and these teams that are out there grinding and working. So I haven't sold my bags, haven't sold my Surf, haven't sold my Rhino or my Emit or my Alien or my PTCG, whatever. I'm still holding all those bags. My X, I got X. So yeah, still on the Pulse Chain train. Regardless if we get a live stream or not this week.
Frank says Pulse is crap, but PTGC is a killer. Even Surf has nice potential. Yeah, I mean the token utilities of PTGC and Surf are very nice. The auto buy and burns, auto deflation. You earn reflection by holding. But remember, you can only swim upstream so long. Even though Surf was launched at 10K market cap and is currently at like 330K, when Pulse was doing well, it went to like 3.6 million. PTGC was launched at 10K market cap. It's currently at 50 million market cap, and we started telling you guys about it at $1, $2, and $3 million market cap. It was at like, what was the top? 400 million or 500 million when Pulse was doing good. So remember, due to liquidity bonding, the underlying network tokens are green and they're going up in price. It makes it much easier for these tokens, the altcoins on the network, to do well. We've seen that in history with the numbers I just named. Also, the utility of utilizing volume to buy and burn tokens, to give in reflections, to build LP pools, that turns on in a much bigger way. The machine works way better when the Pulse Chain network assets are up and producing a lot of volume. So although I don't fully disagree with your statement, we would love for Pulse to do a 5x, a 10x, because we've seen historically, when Pulse did a 3x, Surf went to 3.6 million. When Pulse did a 3x, PTGC went to 400 or 500 million market caps. So what happens if Pulse Chain actually has real success and does a 3x, 5x, 10x, 20x from the current levels that's at right now?
Here's what I keep coming back to when it comes to Pulse Chain. Richard Hart does not want his chain to fail. He does not want his tokens to go to zero. He does not want his holdings to go to zero. He does not want his reputation in the toilet. At least I do not think any of those things are true. So given that, let's assume that's the case, then eventually he will do certain things to pump the assets on the chain. In the interim period, he may do some crazy stuff though. And he may do whatever he can to shake out the weak hands and the Jeets, etc. Or he may do things that make you scratch your head for other reasons. But eventually, there will come a time when he decides, okay, I'm going to pump this shit out of this. And that's what I'm holding, because I'm just waiting for that time. Like, if we're all subject to the whims of Richard Hart, eventually those whims are gonna swing towards time to pump this thing, and I'm going to be here when that happens. So, yeah, I know it's been a crazy, tough journey, but look, if you're in any altcoin right now outside of Zcash, aren't you down? It's just that's just how this market is right now.
That goes to where I think he probably pumps it whenever Ethereum gets above 3,800, really above 5,000, because remember that's when he used the SAC funds to buy Ethereum, or he used. We were speculating, but most of that ETH was bought at $3,700 to $3,800, and right now ETH is down in a big way. So keep that in mind. We've been saying that as well. If Ethereum was at 5,000 or 10,000 right now, and Pulse was doing this, then I would agree, but it's not. And those funds haven't made their way over. So let's see what happens when Ethereum actually starts running. And Nate, I saw you yawning, so I need to wake you up because I know we talked about this, and I was with you when you bought these trading cards. We talked about Bitcoin trading cards a while back, and we told you guys, hey, there's an opportunity here if you like trading cards, if you like Pokemon but you're not in crypto yet, maybe get some Bitcoin trading cards because some of them currently have value and or will go up in value as collectibles go up and as Bitcoin goes up. So Bitcoin is above $100,000. I just actually sold a of 50 Bitcoin trading card, raw, not graded or anything. They already paid for $209 plus shipping. That's one card out of the box, and I think it was probably one of the cards that we ripped live in that interview with the founder of Bitcoin Trading Cards. So it's interesting, altcoin maxis, we're hurting, but the Bitcoin guys liking their trading cards, spending $209 plus shipping plus taxes for one card out of the box that we opened in that live interview, probably like a year ago. So there it is. There's the proof. You can't really see it. But there it is.
I'm so glad to hear that. I remember that. I remember the Bitcoin trading cards.
They're awesome dudes. I got a whole stack of cards sealed up back at my parents' house in the States next time I'm back, I'm gonna have to dig those out. I've got a couple. I think I've got like 4 or 5 that are like one of 121 or better that I probably should get listed somewhere.
What's your parents' address? I'll go pick them up for you.
Yeah. Honestly, I should have my parents just ship you that box and like, hey, whatever you can sell, keep half of it and just shoot me some crypto for the rest.
Not a bad idea. Also, Martin, open those cards. They're worth something, bud. They're worth something. I think you probably won those through Crypto Paradise, if I'm not mistaken.
The sealed packs also go for a lot too. So I mean, if you haven't opened it, if it's a series of cards that are discontinued, if there's no more for sale on their website, maybe consider holding on to it, because those actually, if you look on there, those are some of the hottest selling items, or the series of unopened packs from like 2 and 3 years ago. Some of those go for big money.
And when we did that interview, some of those discontinued sets, actually, he offered us like a discount for Crypto Paradise people. So it's interesting. Some of you did take our advice. Martin bought some sealed packs. So I'll look it up. Look up what a sealed box is going for if you're willing to sell it, or if you want the fun of ripping and take the risk, you have a chance there. Or I will say, if we're right and this cycle is not over, we've seen in the past when Bitcoin is ripping, there is FOMO on Bitcoin-related projects, and those trading cards probably do go up. I had this one listed for like a year now. I put it at a super high price at like $229. Somebody just bought it for $209, so I'm happy to sell it. But keep in mind, when Bitcoin rips, people FOMO for Bitcoin products. I don't know if you remember, Nate, when we first met in Miami in person, I had the Bitcoin shoes on, and I told you, you're like, oh, those are dope. Well, that is because I bought 2 pairs of those, and I actually was able to sell those for like 3 or 4x what I paid, plus keep a pair that I still wear to this day, because Bitcoin was at all-time highs, and Bitcoin product FOMO, when it's scarce product, goes up in value just like anything else. So shout out to the Crypto Paradise people that took advantage of that, and you're winning. But I just wanted to throw that out here, that that trading card, $209, another way Crypto Paradise was helping you win over time, and we got to find our wins where they're at and take advantage of them when the opportunity strikes as well.
We'll have to hit up Aladdin and get him back on here for another interview, and catch up with them on what's been going on with the BTC cards community. They produce a really high quality product, and it's some really cool stuff.
Crypto Armor's face, he's so confused. He's like, I do not understand trading cards, but hey guys, good for you. This is the next Pokemon submission right here. This little handful of trading cards is worth more than some of my altcoin bags now.
Probably.
It's crazy.
Probably. Is it going to be worth more than your PLS that is slowly dwindling down? Frank seems to think so. We've talked about the new sacrifice a handful of times, a few times here, and yeah, we're not happy with it. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Like, I think our position was, well, it could have been spun in a positive way if, in order to receive the new token, sacrifice and get the new token, you would have to have used the cores, so people would be incentivized to buy up, and then those would be essentially removed from the market, and that would have pumped the cores. That would have been perfectly acceptable, I think. But it was the opposite. And so, if he does go on a live stream anytime soon, he's got to explain the rationale here. It doesn't look great. People are losing faith. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. Oh, okay, I know who this is. I know who this is. I'm not going to dox you. What's going on, man? Yeah. The avocado discussion came up back when Trump was, instigating the tariff wars, right? And I was all incensed because I was worried my avocados from Mexico were going to go up. You know what's funny about the avocado prices? They've actually dropped dramatically.
Pretty wild.
I can get like a bag of 6 or 7 avocados at Costco for like $4. They used to be like $9. So I don't know.
Soda prices have also gone down about 3 cents per bottle when you buy in bulk. So I buy the same thing over and over and over again. The packaged cracker prices have also gone down 2% per package of crackers. So when Trump does go on and say grocery prices are down, although inflation is up and some prices are up, some of the core things, some of the vending machine things that I buy have actually gone down, which is pretty wild to see. Because in the time of Biden, like those crackers were like 12 cents a pack. They got as high as 26, and now they're back down to like 23. Soda was somewhere around 49 cents, got as high as like 73, and now it's back down to 67. So it is interesting that in the face of inflation always goes up no matter what, that some of these prices have came back down.
Yeah, I mean, it's largely due to gas prices, other policies. I mean, I know people love to bag on Trump, or some people do anyway. Doesn't get everything right, but he's gotten a lot of things right. And I think we just need to sort of accept that and wrap our heads around it and say, you know what? Trump's done a lot of good things, even if you don't like how he delivers things, or even if you don't like this, that, the other is passed. I don't care. You have to acknowledge the wins where the wins have come. And it's great to see my avocados lower. Soda, gas. Beyond Meat, not winning though. Beyond Meat.
I wanted to end this live show on a little hopium, or to let the altcoiners know that, hey, some people are losing harder than you, namely Bill Gates, because he was big on this and pushing this whole thing. That's why he wants to sterilize all your cows and make you eat fake meat. But Beyond Meat, if you bought $10,000 worth of Beyond Meat stock in 2020, you would now have $92. It's down over 99% per share, BYND. So, I mean, I know we're crying about some of our alts still being down 80%, but it could have been worse. You could have been a non-meat lover. And, well, yikes. I thought, you know, regulation was because crypto was too volatile. Well, look at Beyond Meat right here, being shielded by Bill Gates himself, one of the richest men in the world, and it has not gone well.
Yeah, this is a reminder back, 2020. We kind of all collectively lost our minds, decided to eat a bunch of weird stuff. But it's, the big takeaway I have looking at that chart is the stock market. We all talking about stock market, all-time highs, AI trade, Bitcoin sucks compared to stock market. Well, actually, if you dig into the numbers, that's not really true, because the stock market, outside of the top 7 or 10 companies in the index of S&P 500, have actually not done well in the past few years. The low caps have done terribly. And so it's, they talk about the K-shaped recovery. If you watch any of the mainstream media talking heads, the analysts, the K-shaped recovery as it pertains to the overall economy and also as it pertains to the stock market. The low cap stocks have done horribly. And, it's because of Fed policy, right? You have the big money-making companies, Mag 7, they've done very well because they have very strong earnings. They print money, basically, Google, Amazon, Facebook, NVIDIA, etc. They do extremely well. Everything else has done terribly, and it's really due to Fed policy. So, if you're in the markets, don't despair. It's not like the stock market's done so much better than crypto outside of a few big top performers. I know gold has done well, but that money's going to flow into crypto eventually. So, patience, patience, patience. That's really all it takes. We need Fed to do the right thing, and we'll be back heading towards Valhalla here soon enough.
Frank says, don't buy anything Bill Gates recommends. He wants the demise of the population. Yeah, his name is in a lot of, do Google searches. Bill Gates is not a good guy. And what's interesting about this, I had an argument about this with my uncle. He's kind of a no-Trumper, but he believes some of what Bill Gates has said, this, that, and the other about political things. And I used to actually work for the institutional financial firm that actually managed Bill Gates Foundation. So I was the guy who actually created those investment reports. And when I look back on that, it's like, dang, our performance and our work actually helped fund some of the atrocities that Bill Gates has been a part of when it comes to fake meat, the push of fake meat, really trying to kill livestock and pushing fake meat, vaccinations, once you'd eat crickets, once the demise of human population, saying climate change, all these things. And not a good guy. So go ahead and look that up, do some research on what he's been up to lately. And, I don't know why he gets so much credence. I guess because of the name, because he's very wealthy, because he was kind of on the early forefront of computer innovation with Microsoft and everything else. But, yeah, pretty wild. And it was more wild that I literally crossed paths in the financial industry with Bill Gates and the Bill Gates Foundation. I guess now, it's been a while now, 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you can sit and say he's evil, because I don't know if we approve of that. Like, he just wants to kill people, or just very misguided, right? Has very weird beliefs that may not jive with like the majority and may not jive even with science. Those two, like, I'm not willing to say he's trying to kill everyone on planet Earth. Like, that's the
next wormhole. We got to get Crypto Amaru down, guys. By tomorrow's live show, he'll be like, "Holy shit, Bill Gates, that was wild."
Why though? Why would he want to just kill everyone? Like, I get it. Like, he's a little weird, whatever, and thinks strange things. But like,
he also heavily invested in the COVID vaccinations and then pushes it on you regardless of what the data says. So I mean, maybe it's money, maybe it's I don't know, but a lot of the things he's been involved with are pretty crazy. And it's not just here; it's really in the third world countries where he's going in as being the savior of the countries, and it comes out that actually a lot of the vaccinations and experiments are more like treating them like lab rats than actual human beings. Pretty crazy stuff.
Why would he want to? I mean, I don't know why he would want to do that, but I guess when you become so rich and powerful and egotistical that you lose your mind a little bit. Yeah, kicked out of India for vaccine on children. Look at our kids. Yeah, I get it. I mean, clearly, very bizarre, strange things happening over there. I'm just not quite willing to go out and say that he's like Satan incarnate.
Fair
I think
enough.
it's probably
Fair
just
enough. He's
a little
that. Yeah,
bit
we're not on
crazy.
the side of the left calling people Nazis and devils and promoting that kind of stuff. Just not a great person. Go ahead.
Not
Nate.
a great
What are you
person.
gonna
Yeah,
say?
that's fair. That's a fair take. That's a fair take. Would Bill Gates?
I gotta hop off, guys. I'm 23 minutes over my hard stop at 10:30, so I'll let you guys.
Oh,
let's
never
get
let
out
him
of
go.
here.
He's
We're-
lying. He's
we're
about to
gonna-
go open Bitcoin trading cards. He's lying to you.
We're gonna wrap up. We're gonna wrap up here soon. But yeah, appreciate you, Frank, and
See you
everyone else
tomorrow,
who jumped into the
gents.
live stream. By the way, don't forget we're giving away $1,000 a month for everyone who stays locked in, engaged. Likes, shares, subscribes. Talks to us on the live stream. We are going to be doing the first sort of drawing, let's call it, pretty soon here. It's been almost a month, I think, since we initiated the campaign. So remember that for folks who are listening in, whether live or in recording. Any final thoughts here before we jump off today? I know it's been a nice long stream. We have a call with what's it called? Quants here soon. For those who don't know, Quants is a AI trading platform that we invested in, back in January. It's been a minute. We've known their founder for even longer than that. And they have some exciting news to share with us. So hopefully Quants ends up doing well. We know Backstage, I think, is going to do well. I don't know, man. I know things are brutal right now, max fear, max pain. But I just think back into all my previous great investments. They were made in the same environment. So,
Yeah, and at the end of the day, Backstage hasn't ripped and roared like we thought it could due to market conditions, but the money you invested in that is currently up about 20%, while ETH and Bitcoin are down somewhere between 5 to 8%. So ultimately, as a rotation investment-wise, it's still in our favor currently, even with Backstage not ripping and roaring, but has a lot of upside potential and is still outperforming Bitcoin and ETH, by whatever that math is, between 15 to 25% here currently.
and it's going to continue to outperform the overall markets because they actually make revenue and make money and then put some of that money back into token. That's where I think this market is going to head as we move out of like QT and back into a little bit of risk on. What are some of the alts that people are going to gravitate towards? It's going to be the ones that are less risky of the risky. It's going to be like the hyperliquids of the world. Maybe be the pump funds of the world. It's going to be the tokens that generate revenue. I mean, Backstage, believe it or not, is one of those tokens. So I think it's going to end up doing well over the long haul. Quants, another one. Quants actually generates revenue. They have millions under management presently in their AI trading platform and making their investors, I think, about 20 to 30%, or even more annually. So I think there's going to be a flight to quality. Like once the market turns, the first things that pump are going to be the quality ones. And then once we get fully risk on and things go crazy and manic, then people will start investing whatever. But in the beginning, it'll be the more less risky of the riskies. So hopefully BKS is in that. Hopefully Quants is in that. We will report back to you guys, everyone who's invested in that pre-sale. We will report back to you in the DAO, the Surf DAO, once the call finishes up, if we have something to report back on.
Frank says Quants from back in the days. Haven't heard that since 20. No, Quants with a K. KVANTS, an AI algorithmic trading platform. It's kind of like you having a DeFi fund in the palm of your hands or on your computer. Our earliest investment was in January. Our latest investment was just last month. They delayed the launch due to, hopefully, the big news that they're about to tell us. It's not public, so we can't disclose any of that. But if that is the case, I would expect Quants to launch very soon, before the end of the year, and do pretty well for itself. Again, this is another platform that has real revenue, real users, real AUM that drives token buybacks, LP ads, and like we've seen with PTGC, Surf, and others, we love that utility. We want revenue generation to then go into direct token buybacks, burns, LP ads, and provide utility to those tokens. That's what we want to see. That's what allows you to sustain cycle after cycle. And hopefully we're on the cusp of that becoming a reality again. Utility season, as it's been hinted here with the privacy sector, but we need to see that continue to flow into other builders, early stage projects, small caps, and mid caps.
It'll happen, guys. It'll all happen. I know we're in the doldrums. We're in the max pain, max fear time of the market. It sucks. But we will get out of it. We will get out of it one way or another. Maybe it's another leg down before we move back up. Who knows at this point? I've stopped trying to make predictions. This is the expect the unexpected market. And so that's what we kind of have to do, and you have to approach it. But we're going to be fine. All right, guys, great stuff today. Appreciate everyone tuning in for this long, fun, and illuminating live stream. And until next time, we will see you on the beach.